Every now and again, when I publish a video about some aspect of the Andy Griffith Show, someone will ask me to do something on Howard Sprague, and the actor who played him, Jack Dodson. To date, I've kinda shied away from the color seasons of the Andy Griffith Show because, how can I say this diplomatically? I don't love them. Don Knotts only made sporadic appearances as Deputy Barney Fife, and for whatever reason, those color episodes seem to really capture the period on the show where Andy, from time to time, seemed a little more irritable and ornery. Oh, who am I kidding? He was a lot more irritable and ornery. Anyway, I know there are those who will be quick to point out that the character of Howard Sprague wasn't the first time that Jack Dodson had actually appeared on the Andy Griffith Show. In a Season 6 episode titled Lost and Found, Jack played Ed Jenkins, an insurance agent. It should be mentioned that prior to appearing on the Andy Griffith Show, Andy had seen Jack in a play and had been so impressed by him that he went backstage to visit. Not long after that, Jack's agent, looking to seize the moment, reached out to the Andy Griffith Show's casting team to see if there might be an opportunity for Jack. When they asked Andy about Jack, he said he didn't remember anyone by that name. However, during a conversation a few weeks later, Andy mentioned the play and the wonderful performance by Jack, and was then reminded that he had said he didn't know a Jack Dodson. Putting two and two together, Andy made amends by not only getting Jack on the show, but then later on helping to create the Howard Sprague character for Jack. So let's just give this man his due. Howard and Jack deserve their own video, and let's make this one a tribute video. Why? Well, because Howard and Jack were both pretty darn decent fellers. Sure, Howard was something of a mama's boy, a milquetoast if you will, but you know what? He was probably the most educated person in Mayberry, and it wasn't like he didn't go out. In fact, Millie seemed quite into Howard, at least until Sam Jones came along. No, not that Sam Jones. Although he was pretty darn awesome. I'm talking about this Sam Jones, you know, the one who lives in Mayberry. Howard was also pretty darn good at sports. Maybe they weren't the typical ones that you and I think about, like football, baseball, and basketball. But when it came to leisure sports like bowling, well, the man was pretty darn good. And even though Howard wasn't all that great of a fisherman, he still caught Old Sam, the biggest and most elusive fish in all of North Carolina. Yep, all in all, Howard was a pretty accomplished guy. And yet, despite all that, there was something just a little bit melancholy about Howard. I've heard it said that he was someone who everybody in Mayberry liked, but no one really seemed to like being around him for any amount of time. Truth be told, I bet we all know someone like that. And I'd like to think that Jack's wonderful portrayal of Howard helped us all be a little more empathetic and a whole heck of a lot more kind. When the Andy Griffith Show ended its run after 8 successful seasons, Jack continued to play the popular character on the show's spin-off, Mayberry RFD. And if not for the dreaded CBS Rural Purge, where the network decided to cancel all of their shows with a country theme, he may have ended up playing Howard Sprague for another decade. But the purge was real, so Jack moved on to other things. He showed up in movies like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot and The Getaway, and did lots and lots of TV work. But because this tribute video is based on my memories, I'm going to focus on those things that I remember best post Andy Griffith and Mayberry RFD. And at the top of my list is Jack's appearance in a recurring role on Happy Days as Ralph Malph's optometrist father, Mickey Malph. He wasn't the first actor to play the role on Happy Days, but he was definitely the most well-remembered, especially by me. His zany performance allowed fans of that show to understand how and why Ralph was the jokester that he was throughout Donnie Most's run on Happy Days. And of course, I loved seeing Jack play Howard Sprague again on the Andy Griffith reunion movie Return to Mayberry. But even more than that wonderful little event, I really dug the time when Howard Sprague, yes, that Howard Sprague from Mayberry, North Carolina, showed up on the Gary Shandling Show. Yep, there he was moving into Gary's condo unit, During the episode, Howard reminisced about his old friends from Mayberry and shared some life lessons that had an impact on many of that show's central characters. It was a nuanced, subtle tribute to a character that probably doesn't always get his due when fans discuss The Andy Griffith Show or Mayberry RFD. Jack also showed up during the 3rd season of Andy Griffith's Matlock TV series in an episode titled The Cult. It was a one-time appearance, unlike the recurring roles that would be given to Don Knotts and Anita Curso. But it was still fun to see him on Griffith's comeback hit from the late 80s. My memories of Jack end in the early 90s because he passed away in 1994 at the way too early age of 63. Heart failure was the official diagnosis, but he had been gravely ill for almost a year. He left behind a wife, Mary, that had been devoted to him for 35 years, as well as 2 grown children. And beyond that, he also left behind a legacy of wonderful performances that weren't just about the laughs, because Jack Dodson found a way to share warmth and love and a whole heck of a lot of heart whenever he showed up on the screen, and that, my friends, is what I will remember most about him. You know, this pick always makes me smile. Not sure why, but it does. The more that I think about it, the inclusion of Howard Sprague may have been one of the best things that those color episodes had going for them. Anyway, were you a fan of Howard or the actor who played him, Jack Dodson? I would love it if you'd share your memories in the comments section. And while you're at it, please give this video a thumbs up. Maybe even share it on Facebook or Twitter. And what the heck, why not subscribe to my channel? I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.